Welcome guys to the Carousel Show. Yeah, we got big news talking about guys. Texas and Oklahoma did confirm they were going to the SEC. Not a big surprise for me for sure, but it's big surprise for everybody else. So will this is make the how you say conference, regions, and all this other things been going on. Before we hit this intro, going into the show, let's talk about more about this. Um, do you really want to see Texas and Oklahoma be part of the SEC, or you don't want to be part of the SEC? I mean, this has to be something in your mind. Never matter thought SEC will be bigger again and have two two universities to the conference. Yes, I understand it's not a good idea for LSU. It's not a good idea for A&M. Well, mainly, this is great for LSU because they're playing against Texas and Oklahoma back in 2019 for the when the regular season was Texas versus LSU, and LSU beat Texas. I know all my family members that for Texas. Yes, I know. Get off your brain, guys. But also, this is for Oklahoma to say they can prove themselves and beat everybody in the SEC. They never beat LSU. So, you know, to my understandings, our team was going. We're going to look at this, and I got a kind of like a friend uh text me this earlier this afternoon, and we had this talk before. Uh, when they're going to do a region, and when they're going to do the break up the teams, all 16 teams. So he gave me some regions, and I want y'all to think about it. Write on your notes. Give me a question, a comment to say why break up in regions. So the region one is going to be Arkansas, Oklahoma, Texas, and Texas A&M. And everybody don't want to listen to that. Region two is going to be LSU, Ole Miss, Mississippi State, and Mizzou. Region three will be Alabama, Auburn, Tennessee, Vanderbilt. And region four is Kentucky, South Carolina, Georgia, and Florida. Now, I'll ask this question, guys. If any changes, can Mizzou and Vanderbilt not go be in the SEC? Um, like I said, some schools can say we're not that good and we want to go somewhere that's easy. Or out of the old mud is easy. And I think if Vanderbilt and Mizzou leaves the SEC, not this year, but I'll say about 2024, 2025, that they may go to the American Conference. Now, I know you're not going to tell me, well, Kevin, they're not that good, they might just lose. Well, yeah, they're going to lose, but well, you can take a chance. I mean, you're Mizzou, if you're Vanderbilt is a good school. Mizzou is a good school, but their football team has not been success since they joined since Mizzou joined the SEC. Vanderbilt joined was still the SEC, but they were not that good football team. So if you move to a different conference, as an American conference, you will help out the UCF and you help the other American teams like Cincinnati. So take this for example. If you take Cincinnati and you take UCF and you put Mizzou and you put in Vanderbilt, you got a good idea. You got a perfect scenario, and that would take care of it itself. Now, what you do when you have Ole Miss and Texas in this? Well, now you gotta find the two schools that left SEC. My biggest thing is gonna be different is what's gonna happen, where it's gonna land. Were you gonna bring ACC and let them have another 16 a 16 team as well? You gonna bring Notre Dame in, or you gonna bring West Virginia in? What are you gonna do? When are you gonna start changing right now? Is it now? Are you gonna bring in, or you gonna bring Hawaii in and bring them in SEC? No. Are they gonna be in the Pac-12? Yes. So if you're looking at these different conferences, you look at the Sun Belt. Someone can go into the Conference USA and they can drop the Sun Belt. But I don't think it's gonna happen. I don't think it's never gonna happen. But you never know what's gonna happen. Memphis might be the next SEC team better than Vanderbilt. But you know what? I'm not going to say it, but we never know what's going to happen. We never know what's going to happen. So before we enter this show, I want you to subscribe on this show. I want you to do everything you can to share the show to everyone, and we'll talk about more about this. Here we go to the show.
Obviously, thank you to Commissioner Sankey for his leadership and direction. You can imagine transitioning as a new head coach to have that rudder and that guidance is important. One of the interesting aspects of my transition has been to watch Commissioner and his team, coordinate, organize, and execute the efforts of our conference. It's a tall task, but it's easy to see why he's one of the leading voices in college athletics. So thank you, Commissioner.
We have an outstanding football team that works extremely hard, and they've bought into what we're selling. And I'm so appreciative of all of them, including our coaching staff. Grant Morgan has his master's degree completed. He was a finalist for the Burlsworth Award. He also was first team All-SEC player, and he'll be one of our 11 super seniors coming back. I'm excited for you guys to talk to him because he's really, really a great young man.
All right, I'm not a big opening statement guy, and plus you guys are going to ask whatever you want to know anyway.
Back here this afternoon of the show, the July 24th of Saturday. We're getting close to the end of July, and we're getting closer to August. Is back to school day. We're getting close to that in August. Oh my goodness. Oh man. Can't believe the time has come. We got high school football. We have, well, actually, now they showing on Twitter, they have showed the Tom Brady show his ring, big, huge ring for Temple Bay. Got the 2 championship rings. You can look at them on Twitter. Also, I found someone on Twitter that's looked kind of strange. Lauren Resnick from the KWTX said football season stretch just went up a few notches for the Sooner and Tiger fan. I'm not ready for it. Yeah, I mean, this has been interesting. The last 24, 72 hours, you've been hearing, okay, can Oklahoma and Texas will make a move? And they just did. I mean, it's just been a weird, after the media day of Monday through Thursday, you never think it would happen in a short few days. And it says something about Oklahoma and Texas will make a move. And I've been talking to everybody, my friends. I texted them saying, hey, what do you think about the Texas Oklahoma move? Nobody don't like that move. I think everybody's kind of like fuss and mad and complaining, and everybody's going to throw tacos at the team when they start playing football. So, and here's another breaking news. If you have heard that Cleveland did change its name from the Indians to the Guardians, announcing the new moniker in a tweet Friday. So now it's not the Cleveland Indians no more. It's now the Cleveland Guardians. I try to figure out that why you call them the Guardians. I mean, ain't no Guardian Angels around baseball, but I mean, it's kind of weird to me to say that, but I mean, it happens. So this is what I found interesting. The singer Chris Williams on the KWTX says the Pac-12 would not confirm or deny to me if Baylor has contacted them about joining the conference. The conference gave me this statement from the commissioner of Kellicoff. Said the Pac-12 is compromise of the world leading universities that excel in both academics and athletics. We are an exclusive club that with a high barrier to entry. We love the universities and the teams we have today. While we are not actively seeking to add members, we are always prepared to listen to inbound inquiries. Now, I want to ask this question to you guys, and I want to know from y'all. Do you want to see Baylor just stay in the Big 12 and see what type of teams they're going to bring in, like a Boise State, Memphis, or whoever it is, and they can strengthen that conference to bring in like a Hawaii, UCLA, or Arizona State. But I don't think Arizona State is going to leave that conference of the Pac-12. But I would like to see Texas Tech going to the Pac-12. But that's just me. That's nothing compared to the Big 12. And I just think maybe they're bringing Houston, maybe SMU, maybe Memphis, maybe something out of the Conference USA where they can say, you know what, why don't we just drop the Conference USA and we'll keep the Sun Belt like they are and just bring in some teams that we can just go ahead and kick Conference USA off the picture and just use, only go for, the Big 12, Pac 12, Big 10, and the ACC. That's all they need, right? American Conference. Where will Notre Dame fit in this? In the ACC? Well, they're already in ACC in the basketball and soccer, lacrosse. Would they enter the ACC, not in the IQ team? So really, if you look at this way, they should have kept Notre Dame this season in the ACC. I would say just keep them there because there's no way you can put them by the IQ league and say, you know what, Notre Dame is better than everybody on their schedule. They play ACC all year long. I mean, their IQ team, well, they play ACC teams. I don't get it, guys. They play ACC teams. Really? And now you get their schedule for next year, whether we'll have Notre Dame playing against LSU, Notre Dame playing against Texas, Oklahoma, and ACC, home-to-home games. It's going to be weird. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised what's going to happen in the next few years. Can it all be top 5 conference, Power 5, you have the American League, ACC, Big 12, SEC, Big 10, Pac 12, those five Power 5s, and make the WAC go to, Mountain West Conference go to the Pac 12. That's all I'm going to tell you guys. I mean, I hope this is a change where we all get together and have a ball and drink a couple beers, a couple of wine, or a couple of Couillon stories, and just being excited about this. You know what I mean? But it's going to happen that way. I hope that we'll have to see 16 teams all over the board, and may Sun Belt be Sun Belt. There's all I can say. And the Conference USA be booted out. I mean, that's all I can tell you guys. That's all I have for you. So in the second time, we're going to go through SEC Media Days. I don't know who we're picking today. I thought we were going to do some Arkansas, some Mississippi State, and some probably Vanderbilt. So that's the 3 teams I'm picking today for the 3 head coaches. And you might listen to some of their audio as well. I just got some news, and I thought we were going to take this break. We are, but I got to have some news here. This just made on, if you're going on to Facebook, whatever, this was huge. I just glanced over it, and I know y'all may not like it, and I know I don't want to hear it either. On the BaylorFans.com, it is being reported Baylor has reached out to the Pac-12 among with Texas Tech and TCU. So I understand there's fans of Baylor and Texas Tech and also TCU. If this would go on, can Baylor and Texas Tech and TCU go to the Pac-12? And this is gonna be different. I'm telling you, if Boise State and Hawaii and all of them can go to Pac-12 or something like that, it's gonna be 16 teams. It's gonna be 16 team SEC, 16 team Pac-12, 16 team American League, and you have 16 team of Big 10 and 16 team of ACC. It's gonna happen. It's going to be a Mega 5 firepower, and you're going to have Mega 5s, big conferences. This is going to happen. It's going to happen soon. It might happen now. It might happen now, It might happen next year. It may happen right at this moment. Maybe later, early as August. We never know what's going to happen. So, guys, let this whole mega confusion and silly season start now. This is going to keep going until we get closer to September. Let this show on the road. And guys, we'll be on this break. We'll go to those SEC Media Days that happen in Birmingham, Alabama, here on the Cameron Starr Show. Hey guys, we're getting close to the fantasy football season. We're getting close to it. It starts now. And this week, we're going to talk about more of your fantasy team, players, and also more about your fantasy output, also your major leagues that you always want to do. FanDuel, DraftKings, ESPN Fantasy, or Yahoo Fantasy. Whatever you use, which app, whatever you do is betting. And so I got the guys, it's Scott Doyle, Caleb Pope. They're the best geniuses. They know these type of deals. I suck at it, but we know that these two guys, they know everything. They win money on it. I practically don't do well, but we will to give you all the information you need. But these two guys, they're great. Join us, Scott and I and Pogue, to get your fantasy football team ready. And also, this is the week you will listen through the remainder of the football season here on the Cameron Starr Show. Hey guys, it's the Cameron Starr Show. We're back here this afternoon of the show. Actually, it's supposed to be in the morning, but it did not go as planned. But hey, we're going to start with the coaches of the three SEC teams of universities. We're going to start with Vandy's head coach, Clark Lea. And then after that, we're going to have Arkansas' Sam Pittman. He's a brand new one. I think he's been there second year. And also we're going to have Mississippi State second-year head coach, Mike Leach. That's where you heard that intro going into the show. Not much of a big opener guy, but he can express it during questions. And I think you're going to listen to some of his questions as well. So we're going to start off here, Vandy's head coach, Clark Lea, to discuss his presence for the conference on this media day.
Hey, Clark, Robbie Weinstein, 24/7. What do you think, from your perspective, would constitute a successful season for your team, and how much do you focus on the win-loss record?
So won't place a win-loss record or won't state a win-loss record. Don't believe in doing that in any semblance. We'll say that every game that we play, we'll have a plan to win, and we'll measure the results off our execution of that plan to win. There are measurable things that show growth as a team, and there are things that can't be measured. And, you know, I think both are important. But in the end, I'm a competitor, and I didn't come to Vanderbilt to do anything other than win. And so for me, it's about how we design this team, how we design our tactics, how we develop as people and as teammates to put ourselves in the best position to win games in the fourth quarter. We can be the best physically and mentally conditioned team in the country. We can impose our will on the opponent late in the game. And the vision is that there's a fourth quarter game where we're on our sideline looking across the field at an opponent that is wilting under the pressure that we're applying, because we are the best mentally and physically conditioned team in the country, that we know on our sideline that we're ready to pounce. And we understand that their margin for error is so small because of the pressure that we're applying. And those are the kind of things that I'm looking for as we measure performance, as we get into the heat of this season, is that ability to find ways to win those games late.
Coach, we'll go over to our right-hand side on the near up.
Hey, Clark, Adam Luck at Kentucky Sports Radio. You made what some would consider an out-of-the-box hire, Barton Simmons, to kind of head your recruiting operation. What kind of value can a guy like that bring to your program with his background? And do you think that's something coaches will look to more in the future, guys in kind of the recruiting space?
Well, you know, for me, first of all, as to the value, I mean, I think Vanderbilt, we need to be authentically us. We need to be focused on what it means to recruit to Vanderbilt, what it means to develop a team at Vanderbilt. And so what I did not want in that role was anyone who was going to bring a cookie-cutter approach. This is how we did it at School X. We're not looking to create a mini version of any other program in our conference in Nashville. again, we want to be authentically us. And Barton, as an outside-the-box thinker, as someone who's connected to recruiting but hasn't been immersed in a recruiting operation, gives us that opportunity. Barton's a friend. That's not why he's there. There is a trust level that we default to because we've known each other for so long. He's incredibly smart. He thinks on his feet. He adapts, and he is growing in his role. If you can imagine going from being outside in the recruiting operation to being inside, there's a lot that goes into that has to be learned. But certainly we think it's the perfect fit. I'm excited not only with the results that we're getting right now in recruiting, but also how this projects forward. And I think that absolutely it'll be a trend in college football that will be followed.
We'll go right down front here on the left. Bob?
Hey, Clark. Bob Holt, Arkansas Democrat. Is that a lot of times when a coach goes back to his alma mater, it's to kind of rekindle the glory days, like Steve Spurrier at Florida, or Kirby Smith at Georgia. And I don't mean this as a personal reflection on you, but looking up the seasons you were there, pretty rough records. What do you remember about that time, and what about that made you want to go back to Vandy? Because I'm sure a guy with your success rate probably has had other opportunities or would have other opportunities to be a head coach.
Well, Bob, let me say first, there's no better program in the country than Vanderbilt football, so that's why I'm back. There's an unyielding belief in what's possible there. That's through my experience. We had, as a competitor, the 3 years that I was there playing were the toughest 3 years of my career. And it was hard, but it was formative. And I watched Bobby Johnson methodically build that program into what became a bowl champion in 2008. I jump in with a little, an accelerated perspective. I know the intricacies of what that program is about, how it fits within our university, what the recruiting profile should look like, and where the resources are. And so for me, it's seizing the opportunity that we have to build something different, to give this program a chance to be at its potential. I didn't return home to have a homecoming. I honestly, I thought that your opening remark was going to be a statement to my whatever I have, 4 catches for 27 yards in my career, whatever it was. But in the end, this is about the belief in the student-athlete experience for me. This is a belief. There are only so many programs in the country where you can truly go to a family and say, hey, there are no compromises here. I mean, we talk in our building about being directed to 20 years, your ultimate success 20 years from now. And when I say that to my team, I share with them that I was in those seats 20 years ago. And so there's an incredible binding and messaging when you're at your alma mater. The fact that we are at the best school in the league and the best city in the league, and there's this convergence of resources and leadership at our university, to me, this is the time to strike. And we don't apologize for being Vanderbilt. It's not, our expectation is to win. Hey, look, everything takes time to build to its potential, but smart people figure things out. And so we're going to grip the bat, take our swing for the fences, and we're very proud of what we represent, and we're proud of what we're going to sustain over time at Vanderbilt.
Coach, we'll go back over here to the right-hand side in the middle.
Hey, Coach. Travis Brown of the Bryan College Station Eagle. Curious what Mike Elko meant to you in your development as a coach, and if there's any philosophies or techniques or anything you learned from him that you bring to your role now.
How much time do we have? Because Mike, Mike's a dear friend. Mike, I connected with Mike at Bowling Green, was with him there for 10 months. Back to Wake Forest with him, and we left together to go to Notre Dame. We were at Notre Dame for a year together, and he obviously left to go. In my 3 seasons with him, I learned more football than I ever could imagine. He's a guy that there's a shared ethos, a respect for people, a respect for the players, a certain style of coaching that has lifetime impact. Mike, I can't say enough good about Mike Elko, who he is as a person, who he is as a tactician. He's the smartest football coach that I know. And, everything that I do at some level goes back to the work that we did together under Dave Clawson. So very high respect for Mike.
Coach, we'll go back over here on our left on the front row.
Hey, Clark, Vince Ferrara, 99.1, the Sports Animal in Knoxville. Can you describe the evolution of recruiting talent in the state of Tennessee? Obviously, the population explosion in Nashville, and improving and increasing in the eastern part of the state as well.
Well, a lot's changed since I was in high school. Obviously, I mean, it's the level of football has improved. The population base, like you mentioned, has gotten bigger. I mean, it's a fertile grounds, and we have to do a great job of being first in our backyard. And look, not everybody is going to be a fit for us, and that is what it is. But we need to make sure the guys that are looking for a place like Vanderbilt, again, a place where there are no compromises to be made, that I want to achieve at a high level on the field. I want this to be a football decision for recruits, and it will be, because we'll have the best developmental program in the country. Again, every system that we design is built to drive a player to his potential. And so, but also guys that want Vanderbilt want to know that in 20 years, they're not in a. We don't use the word fallback plan in our building. There's no such thing. To me, it's a plan to launch to your impact long term in life once you're done with football. And that could be a 10-year career, and you could be 30 years old, and your life and your impact is just starting. And so Vanderbilt's a place that will develop that person as well as the player to its highest level. Those guys that exist in our backyard, both in Middle Tennessee and then obviously, as you mentioned, the eastern part of the state, and then the western Tennessee, which has always had strength. Those guys that are out there need to know that Vanderbilt's coming after them, and we're excited to build a program that they'll be proud to stay home and be a part of.
Coach, we'll go right down in front of us, about 4 rows back.
Hello, Coach. How you doing?
Good.
Gerard Hamilton, Tuscaloosa News. Vandy finished second in total offense and then last in points per game. You brought in your new OC, David Ray. Is that how you pronounce it? Rye. I'm sorry, David Rye. What are some of the conversations you guys are having about boosting that offense and rejuvenating it?
We haven't paid a lot of attention to what we were, because everything changes when you change systems. So it's more about the focus on what we will be. And, we need to design around matchups. This is about how we use formations, motions, tempo to create pressure on the defense, to get the matchups that are favorable to us. Every play needs to be a design, and we need to have a reason for why we're doing what we're doing. And to be honest with you, as a defensive coordinator, life becomes pretty miserable in modern day offense. But now I get to step back and be the team coach, which means I can involve myself on that side too. And I got to say, one of the things that was most impressive that Greg mentioned when we met last year before the game in Dallas, preparing for that team was challenging, not just because the players, but the design was also really well executed. And it reminded me of the impact a defensive coach can have on offensive structure, because ultimately we know what gives us problems, and designing around that can unlock performance within an offense. But embedded in your question is situational work too, finishing drives with 7 points, so on and so forth, all of which are part of the philosophy that we're bringing and the mindset that we're developing within the program.
Well, there goes Vanderbilt's head coach, Clark Lee. Okay, I'm sorry, guys. That was Clark Lee for the Vanderbilt's head coach. Talk about the team, what they're going to do this season. And you heard the sound bites. He's very confident by his team. He's very confident what they're going to do. He says some things that I think this Vanderbilt team will be good this year. But we'll see how things goes. Next up, we're going to have the next head coach for the Arkansas Razorbacks is Sam Pittman. This is his press conference at the SEC Media Day.
Hey, Sam. Tom Murphy, Arkansas Democrat Gazette. So you got all these super seniors and regular seniors. I think 23 was the number.
23.
Does that equate to a big jump? What has to happen to make a jump in this league?
I wish I knew that. We'd jump all over the place. Here's what I do know, that it'll be hard work. The weight room, the process of the program, the belief in the program. I mean, you can't you can't beat anybody if you don't start out thinking you're going or believing you're going to. I think that has changed over the last year. But I think it's just building on what we have done and getting better and getting a few additions to help our football team. But we've got enough players on our team to have a good football team as long as we buy in and we work hard and we execute.
Coach Trey Biddy, hogsports.com, 24/7 Sports. You mentioned that you have so many starters returning, but you also had mentioned that you expect some battles and some competition with me earlier, particularly at offensive line at the guard spots, Ty Clary, Bo Limmer, Luke Jones, Brady Latham. How do you see those battles shaping up, and where else could we see some real competition with returning starters?
I think, Trey, there's going to be battle all the way up to first game at the guard position. You know, Bo right now is currently behind Ty Clary, and on the other side, Brady Latham is behind Luke Jones. That's an on-paper depth chart. I mean, to me, they're both 1A, whatever it may be. But that competition will make you better, obviously. But I'm excited about that battle. I think we've got to find out who number 2 is at running back. You know, I think that's a big spot there. KJ Jefferson is our quarterback. Now, does he have competition? You dang right he's got competition, but he has proven that he can play well in the Southeastern Conference in a game. He started one game, but he played well during that game. So, in the secondary, you have some battles at safety. You know, certainly some good battles there, and then there's battles everywhere on the D-line. I think we're pretty much figured out the linebacker spot, you know, I think we'll play at least 3 of those guys on a regular with Henry, Bumper Pool, and, of course, Grant Morgan. So we've got battles all over the place in punter, kickoff man, and field goal kicker. But I'm, you know, a lot of times you have battles you might not be very good at that position. I think we're good there. I just think we've got to figure out who the starter is.
Coach, we're going to go right in front of us in the center section.
Hello, Coach. How you doing? Gerard Hamilton, Tuscaloosa News. You play on the road at Georgia, Alabama, Ole Miss, and LSU, and then you host Texas A&M. Can you kind of tell us about tell us the importance of this year's off season with that brutal schedule coming up this year?
Well, it's good to see you too, buddy. Well, you know, you just got to take them 1 week at a time. You know, we have 8 in a row, 8 games in a row. Very conscious about that. Then we have a bye, and then, of course, we finish with the Final Four. But for us to have a successful season, we're going to have to stay healthy. Our depth is much better than it was a year ago, but it's certainly not where we want it to be. But we've got to be very conscious of that 8-game stretch. And, of course, you're right. We have 3 games right there in a row where we're on the road. And certainly we will tweak possibly what we do at practice depending on who we have available and certainly the vibe, the feel of our football team physically.
Coach, we're going to stay in the center section just a row back.
Sam, Wilson Moore, Columbia, Missourian. You talked about Barry Odom earlier, but I was just wondering, what did he bring to the defense? What did he provide his first year as coordinator?
There's a lot of confidence. Our players believe in him. You know, whatever comes out of his mouth, that's what he's going to do, and that's what he's planning on doing as well. You know, we weren't as multiple on defense last year, and I'll be honest with you, we didn't have enough defensive linemen, to be honest with you, to put on the field at one time. We feel like we've solved that problem where we can go back. You know, Barry's an 0-4-3 guy, along with a little bit of odd front and things of that nature, a little bit of under front. We weren't able to do much of that, and therefore we didn't get anybody in second and long. I think the biggest thing that we're trying to emphasize this year is that we can put people in 2nd and 8, 2nd and 12, 2nd and whatever it may be instead of 2nd and 4 and 5. And we didn't do a very good job of that last year, and part of it was schematics. Part of it was we didn't take as many chances on first down. I think we'll do more than that. But to answer your question specifically about Barry, our kids believe in him, and so do I.
That was the head coach of the Arkansas Razorbacks, Sam Pittman, for that soundbite on media day there in Birmingham, Alabama. Um, as you know, we're getting closer to the game. We're getting closer to the SEC games. We're getting closer to the kickoff of the season. But uh, our last coach of the day is none other than the Mississippi State's head coach, Mike Leach.
Coach Leach, Drew DeArmond, WZZN Radio, Huntsville, Alabama. I wanted to ask you about, you had some of the most productive quarterbacks in college football history in your time as a head coach. What are some of the things you look for when you're recruiting a young man to fit in your offense?
The most important thing and the hardest thing, to really gauge is the guy that elevates the play of the other 11 player or the other 10 players. So you want a guy that elevates the play of the team, because that's the ultimate role of a quarterback. That's the most important thing he does. But then after that, I can't get to square one unless they're accurate, and then do they make good decisions? And coaching has a role in working with a guy to make good decisions. But you need a guy that's accurate, and do they make good decisions? If they don't do that, I don't think they can play quarterback. And then from there, the others, which quick feet, which I like quick feet, because it helps you in the pocket. Are they fast? And I think there's a difference between quick feet and fast. And then strong arm and big. But if you think of all those things, the NFL Hall of Fame is full of guys that don't have every one of those things I mentioned. But I do think you have to have the top two. And then after that, there's a really good quarterbacks have a presence to them as far as their ability to elevate the players around them.
Coach, we'll go in the middle section, about halfway back.
This might surprise you, but you can't see anything up here. Just lights, okay? Go ahead.
Coach, Matt St. Jean, WTVA in Tupelo. You started off the first year of the program kind of in a tumultuous year, to say the least. How important is it going to be for the program to get back to normal and have fans back in full force at Davis Wade?
I think it's critical. I think it's critical not just to us and not just because we want it that way, but I think it's important to our fans and everybody else. I mean, to get in the normal routine where you kind of elevate and everybody's feels enriched, by having the opportunity to watch and participate in football in a normal fashion. And I certainly as coaches and players, that's incredibly important to us. Because football, really good football, I mean, it's a byproduct of routine. And when you break up the routine, I think it's difficult. In our case, of course, it was difficult because, new staff and a very young team. And so, is perhaps, even more disruptive. But, and that's the key is, kind of do the same things over and over again and just do them better and better each time. And that's kind of what a routine gives you. So I think that, it's very important we get back to normal.
Coach, we'll go over here to our left on the first row.
Hey, Mike, Vince Ferrara, 99.1 The Sports Animal in Knoxville. 2 questions. First, what's Tennessee getting in transfer Javante Payton from your school? And then 2, Commissioner Sankey had mentioned that there are 1,600 players in the transfer portal and 1,100 are still there. What opinions do you have about the transfer portal right now?
Well, as far as the transfer portal goes, I don't. I think that too many. There's way too many people on there. I mean, there's a point to where, and I remember when I was 18, and I think that a lot of people remember when they were 18, and of course see it in other people. I think too often there's a temptation to cut and run, and I don't think that's always the best course because you learn a lot by persevering and sitting in there and pushing through adversity. I mean, heck, when I was in college, I mean, I thought about leaving or going to another place, all that stuff, throughout college and even law school. So I think that, there's a point to where, there's a huge value later on to persevering, through adverse situations, and I think that college football deliberately creates adversity because it's a competitive situation, and you're wanting to develop skills to be competitive so that it brings out the best in everybody. I think that just like you mentioned or alluded to, I don't think that all those guys are going to find a place to go. I think in the end they would have been better off where they started, and rather than not play. And then, but in some cases, another opportunity, a better opportunity, and it can. I think that has to be carefully evaluated, and I think that sometimes it is necessary to make a move, and I think also though, it's too easy to transfer right now. I think that the people used to consider their situation more carefully when they had to sit a year. If they transferred laterally.
Coach, we're going to go over here on the right in the teeth of that light. There we go.
Hey, Mike. Adam Luckett, Kentucky Sports Radio. You've been running your air raid offense for decades, successful in multiple conferences. What's been the key to the longevity of that scheme? And was there a smoking gun last year to your all struggles, or was just not enough practice time and personnel maybe didn't fit it as well as you might have liked?
Well, we just had a short window, and we're a very young team, and I think that, we just have to continue to improve and evolve as a team. I think that, there's a reason that the NFL's adopting so many air raid concepts, and that, the last however many, probably 10 Super Bowls, there's been a certain number of air raid concepts in all of them, because in my mind it's an efficient way to move the football, because you utilize personnel and you utilize the space that you're provided, and I think it's a good way to do things. As far as a smoking gun, I think you're always trying to improve. One way to improve, and at least in our case, is get older rather than be one of the youngest teams in the BCS. I think the youngest get older, but I was very proud of the way that they competed and improved as the season went on.
That was some song by some Coach Mike Leach of the Mississippi State head coach. If you want to listen to more of these media days, go into your SEC network or ESPN or whatever they show you recaps of that media day. Hey, so we're going to this last break. We're going to talk about more NIL. The schools can either want to get the NIL to pay for their players. We're going to talk about that a little bit here on this show, and also go to your link. If you missed all the episodes previously during this media days, go on my podbean.com and get all your episodes that you missed. Also go on YouTube. Subscribe to that YouTube, as I said earlier in the show going into it. Subscribe it, like it, and hit it. Also, we're going to this break, the final break of the show, and we're going to this last segment of the show, and we'll talk more on what happened on this day, on the 24th, or the 24th day of July, here on the Carousel Show. Hey guys, we're getting close to the fantasy football season. We're getting close to it starts now. And this week, we're going to talk about more of your fantasy team, players, and also more about your fantasy output, also your major leagues that you always want to do. FanDuel, DraftKings, ESPN Fantasy, or Yahoo Fantasy. Wherever you use, which app, whatever you do is betting. And so I got the guys, it's Scott Doyle, Caleb Pope. They're the best geniuses. They know these type of deals. I suck at it, but we know that these two guys, they know everything. They win money on it. I practically don't do well, but we will to give you all the information you need. But these two guys, they're great. Join us, Scott and I and Pogue, to get your fantasy football team ready. And also, this is the week you will listen through the remainder of the football season here on the Carousel Show.
on a slow jog. Not the type be in the tank, but in that Rover. Man, please, I'm in the zone like AIDS full blown. I'm killing it like a blind man reading. I'm feeling it.
Welcome back on the Carousel Show. Hey guys, big news hit to say. Brad Kalowski, I don't know if we said this before, the last two podcasts or episodes of the show, that he is going to Roush Fenway Racing and be part co-owners of Jack Roush. Now, I've been noticing this the last few times that, Brad wanted to own a car or some type of deal with some ownership. And he has his own race team called the Brad Kalowski Motorsports for trucks, and and now you see Brad Kalowski got better, improved, and he's more reliable now. They'll be co-owners with Jack Roush with Fenway Racing. Yeah, I think it'd be great to see that happening. I think you see a lot of NASCAR fans will see a Brad Kalowski not only to a 2, but like maybe to a 6 or a 12 racing in that number for next year. We'll see what all the shakes out during the NASCAR season next year. It'll be a lot of turns ups and downs. How Bubba Wallace may go to the Joe Gibbs Racing next year to race for Kyle Busch. So it's gonna be different. It's gonna be strange. But that's what is NIL. Not the high school UIL, but NIL. It's like for a program that you get athletes money for college to support their school. I think I like the idea that LSU say, yeah, let's bring it on in that money and give it to the players. I think it's too soon because then they're ready to focus on football. They ain't gonna focus on anything they do. But I think it's the right privilege to give athletes money, and they're in desire what they're gonna give it to charities or organizations that have their own. Okay, let's talk about what happened on this day, July 24th, in our world today. 1969, Apollo 11 safely returns to Earth, and on this day, Apollo 11, the U.S. aircraft that had taken the first astronauts to the surface of the moon, safely returns to Earth to fulfill the dream of President John F. Kennedy. That was amazing. That did happen in history, and I'm glad we read about it right now. This will happen on this day of film of July 24th of film and TV was 1952 High Noon, American Western film directed by Fred Nisman, starring Gary Cooper and Thomas Mitchell is released. July 24th in sports, 2005, the 92nd Tour de France, no winner. Lance Armstrong retires after winning a record 7 consecutive victories, but disqualified in 2012 for doping. Yeah, he was a doper, I'll tell you that for sure. What a great athlete, but still a great athlete all the way. I think it was that was awesome. He broke records, but he didn't really comply to standards of using unused drugs. Here's some famous weddings in my Padawan. Here's one of them. 1554, Queen Mira of England marries Philip, King of Naples, Jerusalem. Hey, my English friend. Well, guys, that's all I have today for you guys. If you want to subscribe on this show, subscribe, hit the bell. Just make sure that you done subscribe on my show. Go on YouTube and subscribe. We'll have to really talk more about this. Texas and Oklahoma going to the SEC. Maybe just rumors. Maybe just getting ready for next year. Or, is it the now time that we'll see Texas and Oklahoma play in SEC where they're always down in the Big 12 and they want to go somewhere different? So we'll talk about more about this in the next podcast. And guys, have a blessed day. I'll see you later.